Good evening, and I welcome you, students. What we were discussing basically the structure of the atom. What do you mean by structure of the atom? What is an atom? What are the particles which are present inside the atom? And then the next game was how these particles are distributed inside the atom. We discovered, student, three particles. Scientists discovered three particles: electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electrons were discovered by which scientist?
J.J. Thomson.
Protons were discovered. How the protons were discovered, students?
So with the help of passing canal rays.
Canal rays were obtained, you see, and the canal rays which were produced led to the discovery of the protons. Name the scientist.
E. Goldstein.
How the neutrons were discovered?
Sir, it was discovered by James Chadwick.
Interesting, very important discovery of these particles, the subatomic particles, students, which make the atom, which are inside the atom. We said most important charge particle: electron, proton. There are electrons, there are protons, and then we talked of the neutrons. What do you think? Which are the heavier particles in this? Which particles are heavier and which is the lightest particle?
Sir, I think protons are the heaviest.
What we found, student, the mass of proton almost equal to mass of the neutron, and electron was found to be having a very small mass as compared to protons, and neutrons 1 by 2000 times. And therefore, we could assume that the mass of the atom could be mainly due to the mass of the protons and neutrons. After the particles were discovered by the scientists performing series of experiments in the 19th century, the game was quite open about the models of the atom, that what model you will propose for the atom. Students, whatever model proposed should be stable and should be able to explain the experiments which we perform. And you know, when we talked of atomic models, the first model was proposed by whom, student?
J.J. Thomson.
You are saying J.J. Thomson. What the J.J. Thomson's model was?
Sir, he proposed that atom consists of a positively charged sphere, and there are electrons which are inside them.
Oh, you mean plum pudding model?
Yes, sir.
Why it failed, student?
Because it wasn't acceptable by some scientists.
Why the scientists did not accept it? Whatever experiments were performed by scientists, they were not explained by the Thomson atomic model. And then came the most important model, what we know as Rutherford atomic model. What is Rutherford atomic model, students? What was proposed by Rutherford?
Sir, he proposed that sir, there is a nucleus in an atom which consists of protons, and there are various electrons that are moving around the nucleus.
What is that? That the entire mass of the atom, almost all the mass of the atom is present inside the nucleus. Nucleus contains protons and neutrons. Not only protons, protons and neutrons. And the mass of the atom is almost inside this. It is called the nucleus. These particles are called the nucleons, protons and neutrons. And the electrons are moving at a very fast speed around the nucleus. That's what was proposed in orbits, students. So what they said, there is a positive center. The size of this is very, very small as compared to the size of the atom. The radius of the nucleus was proposed to be how much as compared to the atom? So they are saying there are orbits, students, in which these electrons are moving. What do we have? Orbits. Electrons are moving in orbits, student. More than that. So what is happening? There are more orbits around the nucleus in which electrons are moving with very high velocity. Why this model was not acceptable? What are the major drawbacks? What are the drawbacks of Rutherford model?
The drawbacks were that, sir, electrons will soon lose the kinetic energy, and then there will be no acceleration, and they will go inside the nucleus.
The most important point is charged particles, when they are in acceleration, they will start losing the energy. They will lose energy, student. They will emit radiations. And what will be the result of that? The electrons will not be stable in orbits. They are going to fall down inside the nucleus. And then the atom is not stable. So this model is not stable. And important point is that Niels Bohr, we are now talking about Bohr's model of the atom. What was the purpose of the Niels Bohr? Actually, he was also performing a number of experiments on atomic spectra. And what he wanted is, he wanted to overcome the problems which were there in explaining the structure of the atom, problems which were there in the Rutherford atomic model. So he wanted to remove the problems which are responsible for unstable atom when we consider the Rutherford atomic model. To overcome the objections raised against the Rutherford atomic model, Niels Bohr proposed his own atomic model. But he was guided by a large number of experiments on atomic spectra. What are these? Will be learned in higher classes. Here is a story about Niels Bohr, short biography. Niels Bohr, 1885 to 1962, was born in Copenhagen on 7th October 1885. He was appointed professor of physics at Copenhagen University in 1916. He got Nobel Prize for his work on the structure of the atom in 1922. Among the Professor Bohr's numerous writings, three appearing as books: Theory of Spectra and Atomic Constitution, Atomic Theory and Description of the Nature. Amazing work done by Bohr in a period when the structure of atom was an important question. Now, what are the problems, student? In order to overcome the objections raised against Rutherford model of atom, Niels Bohr put forward the following postulates about the model of the atom. You know what are postulates? That atom is stable, and you have discovered the nucleus, and then at the same time spectra were being determined. We will discuss later on what is the spectra. And the hydrogen spectrum was studied in great detail. After all these experiments, Bohr made certain postulations. Certain postulates were made in order to account for the stability of the atom, or the atom will not be stable. But since atom is stable, atom exists, matter exists. Therefore, whatever postulates he is giving must be correct, unless something happens more about it. Some more information is there. We'll see what we are talking about. As we continue to teach you in more and more classes, we will propose a model beyond Bohr atomic model, the quantum model of the atom. Now, what I'm talking, student, what was at that time, it was a wonderful thing. What are the postulates about the model of the atom? First of all, he says only certain special orbits known as discrete orbits of electrons are allowed inside the atom. It is clear that positive charge and the mass of the atom is inside the nucleus, right?
Yes, sir.
Or what we are saying, the nucleus has protons and neutrons. They are present inside this. And then electrons must be orbiting around the nucleus at a very, very high velocity, or they will fall. But since they are not falling, it is very clear that there are certain orbits which are allowed in which the electrons are moving. And also they are not emitting energy when they are revolving in these orbits. If they will radiate energy, students, then it will not be stable. Therefore, what is proposed, student? For example, we can say that if I consider, student, I am not very good in drawing. Supposing there are 2 electrons in the first orbit. We are saying they are orbiting at a very high velocity around the nucleus in orbits. Now, where are these orbits? He is saying only certain special orbits are allowed. What are these special? Will be learned in higher class. It can't be here. It can't be here in the first orbit. It has to be a special orbit. So there is a definite distance between this electron and the nucleus. There's a definite energy. There's a definite velocity of these electrons which are in the first orbit around the nucleus. Then there are more orbits, not this one. So students, there are many orbits. We will see. Depending on the element, each element has a different atom. You are saying each element has different atoms. So there could be more electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this in the second orbit. So then there will be more orbit, students. Depending on the element, different elements have different number of electrons, right?
Yes, sir.
Like this, what we are saying, that there are orbits. They are moving at a very high velocity around the nucleus. But these orbits are not ordinary orbit. These are called special orbits. He says these are special, means there is a definite value of energy, there's a definite value of distance, and definite value of velocity of the electrons. In different orbits, velocity of the electrons will be different, energy will be different when they are located at different orbits from the nucleus. First point, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Only certain special orbits known as discrete orbits are allowed. You can see I have drawn this. I have not drawn anything in between that because that is not allowed. How do we know? That we will learn as we proceed to do more and more of science and physics. So not all orbits are allowed. You have seen staircases. How do you build staircases? 1, 2. After 1, you get the second. Second, you get the third get the fourth, like this. There is nothing in between. It is not a continuous path. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Discrete, they are discrete. Second, while revolving in discrete orbit, electrons do not radiate energy. Now, this is very important. He has made a postulate. These are what we call as Bohr's postulates. These postulates are always supported by experiments, activities, Bohr's postulates. There has to be activity, students. There have to be experimental evidence for everything. Because as I said, atomic spectra of hydrogen was studied in great detail. Only after that, he comes to these Bohr's postulates. So if electron moves in it, there is no radiation of energy. There is no loss of energy. Now you will say this is a charged particle. Why there is no loss of energy? This is a postulate he is making. If a loss of energy will take place, then what will happen? Then this metal, this will fall inside the nucleus, but it doesn't fall. So students, why do we talk of orbit, not orbit? Because if I consider different elements, they have different atoms. Why do different elements have different atoms? If I say hydrogen, atomic number of hydrogen is how much? 1. Hydrogen atomic number, we will explain to you what is atomic number, student. This we are saying it has only one electron and one proton. So if I take carbon, students, they say there are, in the carbon, you have 6 electrons. If I take chlorine, we are saying there are 17 electrons and 17 protons. And there are neutrons also. There are electrons, protons. These are 6 electrons, 6 protons, carbon, and 6 neutrons. So as the number of particles changes, what is happening? The atom is different. This atom is different from this because they have different number of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Chlorine is different. It has 17 electrons and 17 protons. So what we are trying to show you, that electrons will get distributed in certain orbits, which are specific orbits around the nucleus. And what do you mean by orbits? The concept is already known. If you see the solar system, what is happening? The Earth is orbiting around the sun. Does it fall inside the sun? No. Okay. What is that? Forces. There are forces. We already know. Centripetal force is there, which is attracting the Earth, but the velocity of the Earth is quite high. It keeps it in the motion, circular orbit motion, students. There is a balance of the two forces, and that process continues. Here also something like that will happen, because electrons will be moving with some kinetic energy. They have a potential energy, they have some energy, and velocity with which they are moving. As they move away from the nucleus, the energies, the velocities of the electron, distance of the electron from the nucleus will also change. Therefore, we are getting some idea now that why did he talk of postulates? Otherwise, atom is not stable and is supported by experiments on atomic spectra. So in short, what the Bohr is suggesting, Bohr agreed with Rutherford model. To what extent? There are 3 particles. Atom is made up of 3 particles, we are saying. Electrons, protons, neutrons. Electrons have negative charge, protons have positive charge, and neutrons have no charge. Due to presence of equal number of negative electrons and positive, the atom on the whole is neutral. Agreed by Bohr, agreed by Rutherford. No problem in this. Okay? Rutherford also said this, he also says this. The protons and neutrons are located in small nucleus at the center of atom. Due to the presence of protons, and nucleus is positively charged. This was also proposed by Rutherford.
Yes, sir.
So no problem with Bohr in this case. He says, yes, that is correct. He holds these 2 things. Then what else is he saying? Now comes the story. Electrons revolve around the nucleus in fixed circular paths called energy levels or shells. This is my nucleus, students. You have a nucleus, students. This is my nucleus. Okay? The nucleus contains protons and neutrons. The mass of the atom is due to what? The mass of electron is negligible. You are saying 1/2000. The positive charge is where? Inside this. So this nucleus is positively charged. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now he says the electrons will be revolving in fixed circular. As you can see now, this is an orbit, orbit, orbit. These are called fixed orbit, students. And we are assigning, these orbits are also called shells. For example, if I say the first shell, say you are saying, sir, first orbit, okay, first orbit. Then I am taking a value of n. N I am saying is equal to 1. N is equal to 1 for the first orbit. Okay? This one, first orbit. Can you see the first orbit?
Yes, sir.
This is my first orbit. Here n is equal to 1 student, first orbit. N is known as a principal quantum number, which will be learned in higher classes. I'm just telling you what is n. I'm only saying let it be a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like our counting, which we do. When n is equal to 1 students, that is my first orbit, and English letter which we use for this is called represented by K. So whenever I will write student K, that K shell, then which shell is K? First shell. First shell is called K shell, and the value of n is 1. I may put n.
Yes, sir.
N value 1. Now come to the second shell, where it is there. This is my second shell. You can see second student. This was my first. This is my second. I'm saying n equal to 2 here. So what is the value of n? 2. N is 2 here. This is known as, after K, what is the name of this? L shell. That was K, n equal to 1, L. This is called L shell. Alphabetically, I am going K, L, M, starts from K. I am saying now the third shell student, third orbit. Third shell. This is my second orbit. This is my third orbit, students. N equal to 3, I call it M. Similarly, n equal to 4 will be the fourth shell and fourth orbit, K, L, M, N, and so on. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Alphabetically, English capital letters are used to show the shells, the orbits. These are also called energy levels. These are also called energy levels. Why do we call them energy levels, student? Because there is an energy of every shell. Every shell has an energy, because this is a positive, negative. This is, you are saying, are moving at a very fast velocity. This distance is different. This distance is different. This distance is different. And as you are going, what is happening, student? As you move, these are not the only shells. There will be infinite number of shells. You can keep on adding the shell. But how many electrons could we put in any shell? That also we are going to tell you. So there are electrons in first orbit, in second, in third, fourth, and so on, depending on how many electrons are present in an element. For example, if I say hydrogen, tell me hydrogen has only 1 electron. It has only 1 electron. So where will this 1 electron go? It must go where? In the first orbit, in the first shell. And that means if I say K shell, then how many electrons are there in K? 1 for the hydrogen. Now, why do I put first electron in the K? Why I did not put in L, M, and so on? You see, it's just like this. If you enter a multi-storied building, the first when you go to the first, you will enter the first ground, then you will go the first, second, third, and so on. The energy keeps on increasing. So the first should go to the lowest energy. That is the most stable situation, where the particles are moving to become more stable. But if I give energy, what will happen? See, if you want to go to first floor, less energy. If you want to go to second, more energy is required. Third, more energy is required. Fifth, more energy. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So the electrons, if first electron must fill the lowest energy state, what we call as energy level, the orbit. After it is filled, it go to the next, and next. Now you are saying, sir, you are making all the assumptions. Yes, we are making. But what I said, as you will learn more physics and science, you will be able to know why we are doing that. See, everything has experimental backing, support. There are experiments which have been done. Only after that we are writing all this postulates. Up to now, any difficulty, students? That what is the idea of Bohr? That there is a nucleus positively centered. There are orbits, fixed path. Did I put anything in between it? No. Did I put anything? No, no. Fixed path. There is a fixed path, he is saying. Specific orbits. Not all the orbits are allowed. Electron cannot be here or here. If it has to be on this orbit to satisfy the energy balances, we will explain later on. How do we, designations are given, symbols, representations of the shells, K, L, M, N, or you can add any much like this. Okay, let us see what else we are saying. Now, students, the Bohr and Bury, they are two people, Bohr and Bury. The main problem was that how many electrons do we put in which shell, in which orbit, in which orbit. And they have given a scheme which we will explain. The first shell, first energy level or K shell can hold maximum of 2 electrons. The second, you can see this is a nucleus. This is my first one, K. How many electrons I have put? 1 and 2. These are electrons. So you are saying that K shell n equal to 1. How many electrons maximum? Maximum electron. Maximum number of electrons is 2. If I say L shell, n is equal to 2, what is the maximum number of electron? How many are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can you see the 8?
Yes, sir.
8. So maximum electrons are 8. Similarly, KLM shell, what do you find? How many? You are saying 18, 32 like this. So there is a limit in the number of electrons that each shell can hold. You can't put more than 2 in the first shell. You can't put more than L8 in the second, like this. There is a limit to the number of electrons in each shell. There is a limit, student, to the number of electrons in each shell. Everything is supported by experimental information. We'll explain step by step more about this. Further interesting thing, student. Each energy level or shell is associated with a fixed amount of energy. If an electron is moving in the first shell, what is the name of the first shell, students?
K shell.
Okay. First shell you are saying, which is your K shell. And what is the value of N here? 1.
1.
This will have a fixed amount of energy. Electrons in this have fixed amount of energy. That means their energy is not changing when they are orbiting in K shell. When they are in the same energy level, there is no change in energy. Because if there is a change in energy, then the system is not stable. That is the postulate which we made. Got it?
Yes, sir.
The change of energy electron can take place. But student, important point to note is, you will say, can there be a change in energy of the electron? What do you think? Can the energy of electron change or
Yes,
remain the
sir.
same?
It will change.
When it will change? The change in energy can take place. How? When the electron moves from, if electron moves from one shell to another shell, what will happen then? You are in the ground floor. You go to the third floor. Will your be energy change or not?
Energy will be changed.
In the first floor, your potential energy is same. Okay? You can move from one room to another. Potential energy is same. But when you move to the third floor, what happens? Your potential energy will change. Increased?
Yes, sir.
Increased. And if you come from third floor to the first floor, what will happen? Your potential energy will
decrease.
So your energy can change when you will shift the energy levels, when you will shift the floors. So we can say that electron, if in the same shell, nothing is happening in terms of energy. But if it shifts from one shell to another shell, student, if it moves from one energy level to another energy level. So if I say this is a lower energy level, student, and this is my higher energy level. Now I'm saying orbits are, I'm taking orbits as a line. If there is an electron here, students, supposing it jumps, what will happen? Then it will absorb energy. How anything will jump? It will gain energy.
Yes, sir.
Then it can change the orbit. And supposing, let me put it this way if you want to see this way. These are our energy levels we showed you. Supposing electron falls from, if this is my K, L, supposing electron falls from L to K, then what will happen? There will be change in energy. What will happen?
Yes, sir.
There will be a loss in energy. There could be a loss in energy. So how the electron will lose the energy, student? It may emit some light or some other type of energy. If it will fall, then it may emit some energy in the form of some radiation or something. So it may emit some radiations. If it goes, you can say, if I put light, it absorbs, then it may absorb, student, absorb some energy and jump. Energy could be heat energy, it could be light energy, anything could be there, right? So now we started understanding something about the concept of the atom. Does it make sense to you, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going slow so that you can understand everything. Once we understand, it will become easy. Because there's the most important, Bohr's theory is the foundation of our structure of the atom. And he could explain a lot of important points because there were a lot of experiments which were done. Atomic spectral experiment spectrum of the hydrogen was studied in complete detail, students. Now, students, if I put a question to you on the basis of Thomson model, explain how the atom is neutral as a whole. How the atom is neutral on the basis of Thomson model. What we said. How can you explain? When will the atom be neutral, student?
Sir, when the value of the proton is equal to the...
When the magnitude of positive charge is equal to magnitude of negative charge. If you are saying electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, if charges are equal and opposite, naturally the number should be equal. On the basis of Rutherford model of atom, which subatomic particle is present? Which subatomic particle is present in the nucleus of an atom?
Proton.
Rutherford model. The positively charged particles, protons. Okay. Draw a sketch of Bohr's model of an atom with the 3 shells. That we have shown you already. K, L, M, okay?
Yes, sir.
And we can draw, there are 3 shells, 3 energy level, 3 orbits around that, students. What do you think would observation if alpha particle scattering is carried out using a foil of matter other than gold? In the Rutherford experiment, gold foil was used. If I don't use gold, then what will happen? What do you think? Why did we use gold, student?
Because sir, Rutherford wanted very much thin layer as possible.
Is the most malleable. So thin sheet, how much thick?
1,000 atoms.
Atoms thick could be prepared. And the mass of gold is high. So what happened? Most of the alpha particle passed straight. 1 out of 12,000 was deflected. That was the thing which led
Yes,
to
sir.
discovery of positive charge nucleus. Now if I use another metal which has almost same mass as the gold and same malleable, if another metal which is at the same, if is same malleable and almost same mass, then there should be no difficulty. Okay? Then it can show
Yes, sir.
similar results. But if I use metal which is lighter and less malleable, like aluminium, atomic mass of aluminium is almost 27. Now you will have to use a thicker sheet, because this aluminium is not malleable. This sheet will be thicker sheet, and thicker sheet will have more atoms, more number of atoms. And then what will happen? The scattering which you observed in gold mostly pass straight, and 1 out of 12 may not be there because the number of atoms has increased a lot. So the scattering will not show such results, will not show the results shown by the Rutherford experiment. The scattering will not be that effective, and you will get students scattering at different points, and all the particle may not pass there because there are so many atoms now. And since the mass is also not that heavy, then what will happen? You may not get those scattered and deflections which you got in the case of the gold. So the experiment will not lead to the correct observations and conclusions. We will not be able to conclude then the discovery of the nucleus. Clear?
Yes, sir.
That's what we are thinking. If you have anything else, you can tell me what will happen. And as we said, student, Rutherford discovered protons. The story is not complete. And 1932, you said Chadwick discovered another subatomic particle which had no charge and mass equal to proton, which was named as neutron. Because the nucleus is very heavy, mass is almost inside the nucleus. How could you explain it? Because proton cannot explain the mass of the nucleus unless there is some other particle. That is why they said neutrons are present, except in the case of hydrogen. Neutron is represented by N. Hydrogen has, if I write like this, it has one proton and one electron. But there are other isotopes of hydrogen, which will be explained in the coming this lecture, which have neutron. Abundance of that is very, very low. The mass of atom is therefore given by the sum of the mass of protons and neutrons present inside the nucleus. Why? Because mass of electron is negligible. Because mass of electron is 1/2000 times that of proton or neutron. So that could be taken as negligible. This mass of electron is negligible then. Then if I will take the mass of an atom, then mass of atom should be determined by what? So we say mass of atom is equal to mass of protons plus mass of neutrons. Because the mass of electron is very, very small, negligible. So how many protons are there, how many neutrons are there, that will decide the mass of the atom. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another question is coming, student. Name the subatomic particles of an atom.
Protons, electrons, and neutrons.
Okay. Electrons, protons, and neutrons. All right. Helium atom has atomic mass of 4U and 2 protons. How many neutrons does it have? Helium. Atomic mass, how much?
4U.
4U. This is called atomic mass unit. Mass of an atom, mass of one atom. Then how many? It has number of protons, how many?
2.
2. Then how many neutrons will be there?
2.
What we just said, the atomic mass will be equal to mass of protons plus mass of neutrons. If it is 4U, then the mass of proton is 2U. There are 2. One mass of one proton is 1U, then 2U plus neutrons. Then how you are getting 4U minus 2U? How much is 2U? So there will be how many neutrons?
2 neutrons.
Because mass of proton is equal to almost mass of neutron. So one proton is 1U, then one neutron is also 1U. U is called atomic mass unit. The main question to be dealt was, students, that how the electrons are distributed in different orbits of an atom. This was suggested by Bohr and Bury. These are two scientists, Bohr and Bury, students. So there is a need to give a scheme in order to tell how many electrons are initial. There are certain rules which are used for writing the number of electrons in different energy levels. They proposed certain rules, student. Rules, why do we take rules? Because they help us. They help us in calculations and knowing how many electrons could be there in any shell. The maximum number of electrons present in shell is given by 2n square. First rule says the maximum number of electrons, ठीक है, in a shell or orbit is equal to 2n square. This is a formula I can use now. If n is 1, tell me, if n is equal to 1, which shell is this?
K shell.
K shell. Then what is the maximum number of electron? 2n square formula. N is 1. What will be the value?
2.
If n is 2, L shell, then what will be 2n square? How many?
8.
8. If n is 3 student, M shell, then what is 2n square? How much?
18.
And if n is 4 student, then 2n square is how much?
32.
16 into 2, 32. So this is the maximum number of electrons which can be put in any shell. This is called Bohr and Bury. Bohr and Bury gave this scheme. In other words, further they suggested maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in outermost orbit. Outermost orbit, student. What is outermost orbit, student? The last orbit which has electron. The last orbit which has electron. He says it should be 8. The last orbit which should have. We are now talking of orbits. Later on, we will talk. There are subshells in the shells and so many other things which we are not discussing in this class, will be learned in higher classes. But these are the rules. We take it that these will be used somewhere. So use these rules. Electrons are not accommodated in a given shell unless the inner shells are filled. This is another important point. This point 2. And what is the third point? Filling, when you will fill the electrons, first you have to fill the inner shells. What are inner shells means? Lower shell will be filled first. Okay? Then only you will go to higher shell. Clear?
Yes, sir.
First shell will be filled first, then second, then third, like this. If when first is completely filled, you are saying in K you can have maximum of 2 of maximum electron 2. So after, if there are 3 electrons, then the next will go to L. Next will go to the L, not in K, because K can have only 2. But first 2 should be here. Then you will go to L. L has 8. If then now total 10. After 10, what will happen? The next electron will go to M. Okay? So you know K, L, M, and so on, like this. The order of filling. First K will be filled. After it is completely filled, then you go to the next. This is completely filled, you go to the next. This is filled, you go to the next. So they are filled in stepwise manner. In stepwise manner from lower to the higher. From lower to the higher. Is it clear? Now he says, write the top question is, write the distribution of electron in carbon and sodium. You have 2 minutes to answer the question, students. Top question on the distribution of electrons given by Bohr and Bury. How many electrons are there in carbon? How many electrons? 6 electrons. Which is the first shell? K. How many maximum you can put in? Tell me in K.
2.
Then how many are left?
4.
then they will go to
L shell.
L. So the electron distribution is like this, what we showed in the diagram, for example. If you are showing something like this, student, there are more shells. This is your K, this is your L. Okay? You have 1, 2 here, and then you are having 1, 2, 3, and 4. Clear?
Yes, sir.
If I have sodium, sodium has 11 electrons. Then in the K, how many?
2.
L?
8.
How much is left?
1.
Then they will have K11. This is called the, how to write the distribution of electrons. Distribution of electrons. So,
Sir, how will I know that carbon has 6 electrons and
well, that we will tell you, atomic number will be given.
okay.
As we are doing this chapter, we will tell you. There is a table which will tell you how many electrons are there in the carbon. We are going to learn all this in this. So we'll learn. So students, if you have sodium, you are seeing this. First shell, you have second. My drawing not that good in the orbits. Then you have third. K, L, M, students. How many in the K? 2. L, 1,
8.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And M, 1. This is your sodium. This is your carbon. So now you started understanding, students, how do we write the electron configuration and what is Bohr's atomic model, postulate, what is the postulates given by Bohr. We don't have more details and higher models in this course. These will help us a lot and give you valuable information about the chemical combination and formation of compounds and valencies of the elements, which will be studied in the next class. All right. I hope you understood everything and did the top questions also. And keep sharing our videos and ask the students to subscribe the channel. It is very important and very useful. It will help you for all classes, 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, medical colleges and everywhere. Okay. Bye-bye. Then I meet you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.